Senator Bernie Sanders just released a tweet calling out the Senate for attacking people's First Amendment rights over Israel. Now, this is all over S1 or SB1. Now, this is the first bill that the Senate has taken up in the new year, in the new term, I should say. And basically, what SB1 is a way to criminalize people for protesting against Israel. Now, this bill was sponsored by Senator Marco Rubio, and it's a package of legislation that includes $38 billion in military assistance to Israel, because that's exactly what they need, as well as combating BDS Act, or as the Combating BDS Act. Now, that would give state and local governments more power to punish companies and individuals who boycott and divest from Israel. Now, he said, quote, "While I do not support the BDS movement, we must defend every American's constitutional right to engage in political activity. It is clear to me that this bill would violate Americans' First Amendment rights." So look, Bernie Sanders, he says, I'm not in favor of BDS, but I'm not in favor of criminalizing people for engaging in BDS. Now, I know some people are like, no, that's not enough. We should all be in BDS. And look, I don't think boycotts work all that much. So whatever. But if you want to do it, that's perfectly fine. There's no reason that you should actually be punished for saying, I don't want to buy products from a nation that oppresses people. In this case, Palestinians. Now, this is about freedom of protest. And that's what this is about. Now, If Not Now, which is an American Jewish advocacy group, went along the same lines as Senator Sanders in criticizing this bill. After the vote, which passed the Senate overwhelmingly 74-19, said, quote, "It's vile little law aimed at suppressing our democratic rights and silencing those fighting for solidarity with Palestinians would even make it to the Senate floor. Shame on our community's establishment for pushing this bill forward." And what establishment is that? Well, it's AIPAC. Now, AIPAC, of course, gives lots of money to politicians, both Democrats and Republicans. They are a gigantic lobbying group on behalf of the right-wing government of Israel. Now, they are actually, if not the most powerful lobbying group in America. So they have a lot of political power, right? Now, if you point that out, how they buy our politicians and redirect billions of dollars to the Israeli military, well, then somehow you're anti-Semitic, right? That's what they'll say. But wait, what if we don't want to support the brutal crackdowns on Palestinians? Well, you're an anti-Semite. That's their answer to that. But Jeff, you understand, the Palestinians sometimes shoot rockets and hurt innocent people. Yeah, they do, and that sucks, and that's dumb. And it's also wrong. But at the same time, you have a group of people that are penned in basically what is an open-air prison. If you treat an entire population as if they are animals, as if they are subhuman, don't be shocked when some of them lash out. I'm just saying. And on that, I despise Hamas, and I despise what they're doing. And not only that, but I also despise Netanyahu. I'm not a fan of him. You know the Israeli leader that I actually like the most? Yitzhak Rabin. Yitzhak Rabin was my kind of guy. You know why? Because he wanted peace. Okay, from what I remember. And look, I want a two-state solution. I want to make sure that, yes, Israel is protected, and so is a Palestinian state that is also protected, to make sure that they all get along and have their own place to call home. Okay, but we're not doing that, apparently. No, the United States is actually instead trying to criminalize Americans for protesting the government of a foreign country. That's pretty messed up. Now, I've got more quotes here. Now, Rebecca Vilkomerson, who's executive director of the Jewish Voice for Peace, she said, quote, "Disappointing vote to undermine free speech rights for Palestinian freedom, but encouraging 19 senators understand minimal credibility as the progressive now includes standing up for the freedom to boycott." Exactly. Now, these senators, by the way, and I'm going to give you these senators. I'm not going to give you the names of the people who voted in favor of this piece of legislation. Instead, I'm going to give you the 19 senators who stood up for free speech, right? And they were, along with Bernie Sanders, who's an independent, Tammy Baldwin, a Democrat from Wisconsin, Sherrod Brown, Tom Carper, Dick Durbin, Dianne Feinstein. Dianne Feinstein joining with Bernie Sanders, of course, to say this piece of legislation is terrible and it's against freedom of speech, and I am opposed to this. So now you also have Kirsten Gillibrand, who's running for office, Mazi Hirono, Tim Kaine, Patrick Leahy, Jeff Merkley, Tim Murphy, Gary Peters, Jean Shaheen, Tom Udall, Chris Van Hollen, and Elizabeth Warren, among a couple of others, right? Now, there are 7 senators in total that did not vote. That includes Kamala Harris and Senator Cory Booker, as well as Senator Brian Schatz. So I don't know why they did not vote. I don't know why maybe they weren't there, maybe they abstained. I don't know what happened. But the rest of those senators that I mentioned did the right thing. So now, all of those senators, like I said, who voted no, at least did the minimum to protect freedom of speech. So that's good. And I'm going to give them credit for that, because it is very difficult to go up against AIPAC and the Israeli lobby. And look, there's so much now division in the Democratic Party over Israel that a lot of the pro-Israel establishment Democrats are now trying to form a separate faction inside of the Democratic Party. So I was reading an article about this, and maybe I'll expand on it in another show. But basically, what they want to do is to continue the status quo relationship with the right-wing Israeli government, to continue sending them money for weapons, and to continue supporting them as they crack down on Palestinians. And so a lot of the Democratic Party, especially a lot of younger voters, are saying, now, wait a minute, they're a marginalized community, Palestinians, and maybe we shouldn't let and help Israel continue to crush them and build illegal settlements. Maybe we shouldn't do that. And so, and maybe we shouldn't let our politicians continue to get bought off by a lot of that money, a lot of their money, foreign money, right? So, look, again, I'm going to give them credit. Even if you don't support BDS, you should at least support the ability to not get criminalized for voicing your opinion in the products that you buy. So, especially if it's a country in which you don't agree with what they're doing. Hey guys, hopefully you enjoyed that free video. Now I'm going to have to ask you a favor. Between the demonetization and the YouTube algorithm messing around with view counts, etc., we're having a hard time adjusting to the new YouTube reality, which is where you guys come in. See, we have a Patreon, patreon.com/TYTNation, set up to help us rely on you guys, the viewers, instead of big corporate ads. Look, you know the show. You know I'm not in favor of big corporations anyway. So help us transition away from relying on the ad model to pay the bills and sign up to be a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation. That goes a long way to help us keep the lights on. And you guys will know that you're supporting independent, progressive media.